Let's just jump into it. Let's talk about James Ellsworth. Let's talk about the curious case of James Ellsworth. And I have read a lot. I have read his Reddit AMA. Seen a lot from the guy. He's seems to be a humble person. He seems to be a hardworking person. He seems to understand what his role could be for when they need a person like him in the business. And look where it's got him. He's legitimately on a t-shirt for sale at the WWE and was legitimately in a match against the world champion AJ Styles. That's emotionally unheard of. I mean, like, how do you, as the type of competitor and the type of person that he is and what he does in his personal time with his own wrestling leagues and things like that, what do you think about James Ellsworth being in a championship match?
Well, like you said, I think it's inspirational for one thing. I mean, it's gotten him to this point. He's been in the business for 14 years. He beat, not only wasn't he in a title match, but he's beaten the best, not only this company, but the entire world has to offer in AJ Styles on back-to-back occasions. So I think, it's inspirational. If he can do that, I don't know if I can get to a level where I'm facing AJ Styles, but I think anyone can get to a level to that point on a TV show in the main event, beating the world champion, not winning the title, but it keeps him in the conversation. I know Dean Ambrose faces AJ Styles next week. If he can beat him, he gets a future title shot. But James Ellsworth, I don't know if he's been signed or not. I mean, he said on Tuesday before SmackDown that he has no idea what his WWE future holds. But he beat AJ again, so I'm sure he will be around in the future.
Well, here's a couple of interesting perspectives I have on it. So Daniel Bryan had made the comment that if Raw is bringing back Attitude Era superstars, and this is from Talking Smack this week, if Raw is bringing back Attitude Era superstars like Goldberg to get their show over, to have competition for their part-time employees, and I'm talking about Brock Lesnar, then SmackDown is carving out new territory. And AJ Styles had, on Talking Smack as well, a lot to say about what he felt about that, and said that this was on Daniel Bryan, that Ellsworth is the type of competitor where if Dean Ambrose had not been out there per Daniel Bryan's direction, then James Ellsworth would not be any kind of superstar. He would be rolled up into a ball within a couple of seconds or hit with the Styles Clash. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. AJ Styles does not seem like a guy that needs to bully and beat up on someone clearly so smaller of a competitor than he is. He doesn't need that. He's a jerk, but he doesn't need to do that. And he said as much. So is Daniel Bryan responsible for the hype behind James Ellsworth more so than James Ellsworth earning any of that hype for himself? Certainly he's the guy in that place at that time, right? And that's all well and good. But is Daniel Bryan projecting to the WWE Universe, to AJ Styles, the current WWE World Champion, that much like Vince McMahon or anybody, that he can create a star out of anybody? And AJ Styles accused Daniel Bryan of being the authority. It's really interesting for me to agree with Styles so much on this, but he makes a compelling argument that the interest surrounding the story or the inspirational story of James Ellsworth comes down to the fact that on paper, those are defeats against AJ Styles. That as a headline, that's how it reads. What an inspiration. Now, Dean Ambrose is really pulling all the strings. To what service to Dean right now? What credit does Dean get for any of this or all of it? I mean, certainly he's now put in a match against AJ Styles again, but we're right back where we started 3 weeks ago. Cena is now out of the picture. He's just disappeared. So are we just spinning our wheels waiting for, the King John to return here? And is Dean Ambrose really going after this title, or is he trying to place like some kind of casual mind game? Because he certainly is not doing it at the level that Randy Orton is doing against Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. So if Dean Ambrose is just casually playing with things, I don't think he wants to play this game with AJ Styles. AJ Styles is laser focused on staying and retaining his championship. So Dean Ambrose couldn't hold on to it, and now it seems like he's almost given up. What do you think about this whole dynamic between the creation of a James Ellsworth and what Dean Ambrose, a former champion who just had his opportunities, is he earning any of that opportunity back? Does he deserve a match next week?
Well, for James Ellsworth, I think Daniel Bryan is partly responsible for giving him the opportunities, but I feel like James Ellsworth is largely responsible for his own hype and popularity, considering the fact that he, for whatever reason, captured the hearts and imagination of the entire WWE universe when he went up against Braun Strowman 3 months ago. He was all over social media. He had his 15 minutes of fame that is now extended to an hour of fame on every Tuesday on SmackDown. But for whatever reason, his any man with two hands is a fighting chance catchphrase caught on, and that's what caught him. That's what caused him to be brought back by WWE.
Well, I think he's obviously a smart guy, and I would not take away his mind and his creativity away from him for him stepping into that role and being able to take it over. But we hadn't really when James Ellsworth with the entire style look that he has. He's very thin build to him. Chooses to wear like plain black trunks, like very very form fitting. So it just really accentuates how lean he is, right? He's got a couple of tattoos, which I'm sure are meaningful to him, but on TV look very generic. And it's a very gaunt looking build a wrestler if you were going to borrow from video game vernacular, right? So to have him step in and have a creative mind for that, those are the types of characters that we sometimes or somewhat saw in the Attitude Era. You had that level of local competitive
Dwayne Gill
and wrestlers like that. So it is good to see that. And I think that he gets the hype because he was of the first. He was of the first reintroduced this idea and really kicked it all off. And he's going to be the poster child for that. And whoever was the first guy, all they had to do was go out there and really not stumble and break their neck, which he almost did. James Ellsworth tucked his whatever. Well, he tucked as much of his chin as he has. And when he was taking a Styles Clash, and literally looked like it almost broke his head off. Ellsworth has made comment on this online about how he just instinctively in wrestling, you tuck your chin when you're taking a fall like that. And to AJ Styles' credit, Styles knows his position and posture so well that there was no injury caused to James Ellsworth beyond the devastating injuries sustained in doing the Styles Clash anyway. Probably a little bit more so than usual, but no severe injury to James Ellsworth. So with all of this brewing, I don't expect James Ellsworth to play any kind of more of a distraction role than he's already played, but I expect Dean Ambrose to potentially start stepping up a little bit more and realizing that he needs to take things a little bit more seriously than he's taking right now if he wants to be champ sooner than later, and especially before King John comes back and tries to take over the throne again.